To start, let's talk about all the awkward positions Victor Durabanto had to be in while filming the scenes. You might not be aware that Victor was a member of Wednesday's cast, but that isn't the case. Jenna Ortega had to get up early every morning.
I would wake up around 4:30.
The cast performed their stunts, and one actor had to be hidden inside a box for a significant movie scene. Tim Burton didn't want to use CGI, so they hired a magician to perfectly portray the character's emotions on the big screen.
Tim Burton, such an incredible filmmaker, and Tim was always our first choice for the series Wednesday.
However, when it came time to film the scene where the character was stabbed, they had to position the magician directly beneath the table.
Hey, I can't fit under a bed, let's make a hole in the floor. Hey, I can't fit under the floor, let's raise the whole building in the air, so put him under the floor.
There was an unwritten rule that the actors had to eat while filming. No one forced them to do this, but they had a very busy schedule. On a typical day, they would spend about 12 hours on the set, which left them little time to eat. Instead, they would typically grab a bite to eat in between scenes. Jenna Ortega didn't have it easy either. The young actress had to correct her posture and refrain from blinking while Wednesday was being filmed, and the no blinking rule was accidentally introduced while the show was being filmed. When Jenna decided to refrain from blinking in front of the camera for the entire day, director Tim Burton noticed it and enjoyed it so much that he decided to make it a rule. We also talked about her posture and how she tried to move her arms as little as possible for the show because after all, Wednesday isn't particularly energetic.
I didn't move my hands or arms much if I didn't have to.
So if you watch Wednesday on the show, you'll notice that she never blinks and it's become a significant characteristic of hers. At first, it was difficult to stop blinking because, well, everyone blinks. But then, after a few weeks, she got the hang of it. However difficult that might have seemed, it was nothing compared to Victor's work. He managed to portray human emotions using nothing but his hands for some of the scenes where a thing is standing on Jenna's shoulder. Victor had to follow her around all night. Every time Uncle Fester electrocuted him, Victor was the one moving his hand up and down. He spent the majority of the filming either crawling on the floor or hidden inside a wooden box that they built just for one scene. Every scene required 3 different takes, so Jenna had to pay close attention to her gestures and facial expressions. First, they tried the flat version with an expressionless voice. The actors would try a second take of the same scene, this time adding vocal inflection to her lines, and then for the third take she would try the same scene with emotional expression. They would go through several drafts, and all that trial and error is what led them to create such an iconic dark but still relatable and funny character. Speaking of busy schedules, when filming the show for 7 months, Jenna Ortega had to adhere to a pretty rigid schedule. Since they would pick her up and drive her to the set at 5:20 in the morning, she would have less than an hour to get ready. She would wake up at 4:30 in the morning. She would get ready at 6 a.m. and spend about an hour and a half in the makeup chair at 6:30 a.m. After a 12-hour day of filming scenes and eating in between takes, they would begin filming at 8 a.m. She would then spend her afternoon at stunt practice for about an hour before going to her cello lessons, and she would return home at 8 o'clock every day to do the same boring thing.
I would wake up around 4:30. I would be picked up around 5:20.
But we suppose it was all worth it in the end, don't you think? It should be noted that the actress did admit Burton never told her you're awful to her face because he was too nice for that. Instead, he tried to find ways of telling Jenna she could do better. The young actors had to travel to Tim Burton's studio in London for this, where they spent a lot of time trying to decide what Wednesday's hair should look like. At one point, the hairstylist Paul brought a fringe and put it on Jenna. Despite being fully committed to this role, Tim Burton found it to be very appealing, but something seemed a little off. It didn't look natural to him. Jenna requested that the hairstylist color her actual hair so that it would look natural. It wasn't just Jenna who had to practice her stunt work. All the other actors had to perform their stunts. Sure, they had body doubles, but the young actors wanted the show to be authentic.
I think you've got it backwards.
As we previously mentioned, the actress took cello lessons for about an hour after a 12-hour day of shooting just to hone her skills. She also took up archery, learned to ride a canoe, and even learned to play the cello for her roles. That's it for today. Please share, subscribe, and press the bell icon for more such content.